Hello, everyone. I'm Tanya. I'm a software engineer at Red Hat, and I'm based in Brno. I've been working on the Pulp project for the past couple of years, and it's been enjoyable and interesting so far. So, does anyone know what Pulp is? Have you ever heard about it before? No, good, so that's why I'm here, right? So, Pulp is a platform for managing repositories of content, different type of content, such as Python packages, Ansible roles, I don't know, Docker images, just files, cat photos, for example. So Pulp is not a new project. It's been around for a while. But what's new is our new major release, Pulp 3, and all the changes and features it brings. We are currently in a beta phase, but we have a lot to offer there. So today I'll tell you briefly about our project in general, but most importantly, I will try to show how it can be useful for you. Next. So, what exactly Pulp is? First of all, it's an open source project. It's available on GitHub and it's written in Python. And as I told you, Pulp is a repository management tool, and it allows you to fetch, upload packages. You can organize and distribute them. So you can fetch content from a remote source into Pulp. You can upload your own packages into Pulp. And Pulp organizes content into repositories. So then there you can mix and match, you can compose your own repositories and then distribute them. Pulp is a plugin-based system. So today we'll talk about Python packages, so the Python plugin, but it can be any other content type. Of course, if there's a plugin for it, or if you write one, that's not hard. So first, very quickly, I would like to tell you what we are using. It might be interesting. So, as I told you, Pulp is written in Python, and we're compatible with Python 3.5 and higher. We use multiple frameworks, so we can focus on repository management and rely on other projects and leverage what they do really well. So we use Django as our web framework with the Postgres as a database backend for it. I believe we're still database agnostic, so any database supported by Django should work, but we recommend Postgres. We use Django REST framework to generate our REST API. We use Swagger for auto-generated docs. And it's really great that with every install, you can have auto-generated docs for REST API, which are always up to date and relevant to your version. And we use RQ, Redis queue, for queuing jobs so they can be processed in the background and with workers. And of course, Redis as a backend for that. So I won't go deeply there. If you're interested how we do it on this level, we can talk in the hall. So you have an idea, in general, what Pulp can do. So let's talk about how it can be helpful for you and what kind of problems it solves. So you may want to create a local mirror of a remote source, maybe because of the low bandwidth, maybe because within your organization, internet access is limited for employees, but you still need to find a way to give employees access to the content like PyPI. Package of a version you rely on may disappear from a remote source. and you don't really want that. So we can keep it within Pulp. Speaking about dependencies, dependencies for your software can change very often, and you may want to have a control over it. So maybe for development environment, it's fine because you have latest and greatest, and you can find some compatibility issues very early in the process. But for production environment, I believe you would like to be more careful and have your known good set of packages which works together. And even if, say, dependency or other dependency got changed and new problem was introduced, you won't be affected by that because you have your curated set of content. So another important and very popular use case for Pulp is a content promotion. You can easily distribute a set of content for different environments. For example, the team of developers work on some software and it's ready to be passed over to QE people. So you can promote it to the test environment and let QE work on that. And whenever QE are happy with the quality of the software, you can promote it to production. Without a tool like Pulp, it can be either complicated or involve multiple tools, so it leads to more hassle and it's more error-prone. Yeah, and what allows us to do that, just to emphasize that with Pulp you can have an immutable set of packages, so it won't be changed and you can rely on that. You may want to distribute your own software, or maybe you can want to distribute a combination of your own software and what you already mirrored. So you can do it with Pulp. And last but not least, maybe you work not only with Python packages, but with some other software. So it's good to have one tool for different content types. So these are the types of problems that Pulp can help you with. And let's now look at the specific examples and the workflows, how you can use Pulp. So to communicate with Pulp, I use REST API, and in my examples, I will use HTTP to make HTTP requests. So initially, let's say we have a fresh install of Pulp. There is no content in Pulp. There are no repositories yet available. So first thing we need to do is we need to create a repository. You can do it easily via post on the repositories endpoint, and the only parameter you have to provide is name. In response, you will receive a lot of information like created date, description, and whatnot. But most importantly, you will have the URI, this identifier, href, for the object you created. And we will use it further in our API calls. And in general, in Pulp, whenever you create a new resource, you can expect to have a URI for it. Good, so we have a repository. Now we need to create a remote. A remote knows about how to import data into Pulp. It knows the details about the content and the structure, so it's plugin specific. A remote for the Python plugin can be anything that mimics the PyPI API. It can be PyPI itself, it can be some kind of fixture, or an instance of Pulp. To create a remote, we use remote API, and because it's plugin specific, we say that we want Python one. You specify a URL, it's a remote source, and we will sync from PyPI. And maybe you don't want to have all the PyPI content, so if you would like to filter it, you can specify projects which you are interested in. Good, so we have a remote, and finally we can sync. So to sync from remote source, we tell our remote to sync, and we specify repository where we would like our content to sync into. If you take a look at the response, here we have a task. That's where RQ comes into play. As I mentioned, we use RQ for jobs. And so for operations like sync, which can take a while, especially if you sync the whole PyPI, those tasks will run in background and will be performed by multiple workers. So if we look at the task status, and whenever sync is ready, we have, again, a lot of information there, but there are a few important things to see here. You can see if we have any non-critical errors. You can see the progress, for example, how much content was added or removed. That's also possible during sync. But important thing to see is like what was created during this task. And the repository version, #1, was created. We'll talk about repository versions a bit later, but it's an important thing to keep in mind. So good, we have our content in Pulp. We have our repository version #1, which refers to the content in Pulp. Now we're ready to publish it and distribute. So we need a publisher. Publisher knows how to generate metadata, which is specific for this content type. So again, it's plugin specific. To create a publisher, it's very similar to remotes. We just use publisher's endpoint. We specify what we want, a Python one, and a name. So with publisher, we can publish. And again, you need to specify which repository or which repository version you'd like to publish. If you specify repository, the latest version will be published. And again, notice that we have a task, so it's asynchronous. And as a result, a publication was created. Good. So we have our publication, and we're ready to distribute it. And guess what? We need a distribution. We tell our distribution the publication we want to distribute. And now, important parameter is a base path. Because this is the path which will be a part of URL. You can see it in response, the base URL, where your content will be served. So for example, here, we wanted to create an environment for developers. So I called it dev. So your content will be served at Pulp content foo dev. Now, your content is available at this URL, and it's consumable by pip. You can do pip install like this. You need to specify index URL, or to make your command line shorter, you can configure your pip.conf accordingly. So it was a mirror case, an example. It took us a while, but only because we didn't have anything in Pulp. So now we have content, we have repository version, and we will continue working with it. So what else we can do? Now, maybe you would like to add your content and organize it somehow. So to add your content to Pulp, you need to upload your file, your package you'd like to add, an artifact, create a content unit from it, and add to the repository you want. So when you upload artifact and create content unit, you can see that in our content storage, there is a new package available. It's yours. But it does not belong to any repository yet. Yeah, so we need to add it to repository. And by adding the content to the repository, by changing it, we create a new repository version. So you can further organize content the way you want. You can add your content like we just did. You can take any existing content and spread it across multiple repositories. And obviously, you can remove package from repository as well. So the important thing is that with any change to repository, you create a repository version. And so repository version is an immutable set of content. And it's very important, and it will help us a lot. Now we have our new version 2, and we probably would like to distribute it because we no longer need our old version. So we created a publication of content version v2, and now we want to distribute it instead of v1. So the only thing you need to do is update existing distribution. Just tell it, here's my new publication, please distribute it. We did it manually, but we can do it automatically if you configure on the distribution, the publish and repository. So what next? Yeah, you can serve a publication at multiple URLs. One of the examples of this use case, for example, you are in this stage of your development lifecycle where developers just finished their work and they want to pass it over to QE. So you distribute this both for developers and QE. The same publication, the same set of content, it's not a copy, it's just exactly the same, so you can be sure that they see the same. The last feature I would like to show you today is rollback. So if something went wrong, how you can roll back. And it's good to talk a bit about repository versions. So they help us a lot here. Because you're no longer dependent on a remote source, you have everything in Pulp. And again, I can't emphasize more that it's a mutable set of content. It can be changed. So your carefully curated set of content will be there, and it won't be changed by accident or by mistake. Having repository versions makes it easy to roll back to any version you want. And yeah, of course, if it's outdated, it's no longer needed, or you needed something wrong there, you can always remove it. So the thing you should do is just update your distribution with the publication you want, and you're done. It's instant. It's just one update in the database. And it's very important that it's instant and very quick, because if you screw up your production environment, for example, you can roll back very quickly. And in my example here, let's say QE found some issue in the version 2, but they don't want to be blocked, and they want to continue to test other areas. So they're OK to roll back to the version 1, while developers still want to stay at version 2 because they would like to track down the root cause of their issue. So you may want to serve different versions at the same time. So that's mostly what I wanted to tell you and to show you. And quickly to summarize, that Pulp organizes content into repositories. You can add content from remote resource, or you can upload it from your computer. You can organize content the way you want and be sure that the set of content you created is immutable, so it's very easy to have those reproducible environments. And you can easily distribute any version. You can distribute it the way you want. Content promotion is very easy, and rollback is instant. So if you are interested in our project as a user or as a developer, so please join our community and participate. We hold demos in our YouTube channel almost every 3 or 4 weeks, I believe. We discuss all the solutions and design proposals openly over mailing lists or an IRC chat or on our issue tracker. because we're in a beta phase, like any input and contributions are very welcome, and your input and feedback can be incorporated into upcoming release very quickly. And in general, Pulp 3 is written with the input from our community. We talk to our community a lot. So please help us improve, use it. I hope it will be helpful for you. Or in case you don't have the content type you wish to manage, just write your own plugin. It's very easy. Thank you very much.
Okay, very nice. And we can just go through all the questions. So, is access control supported? Users, groups with restricted access to some repositories or packages? Sorry.
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's not supported yet because, again, we're in a beta and we're trying to be focused on the repository management functionality. It definitely in our plans, because if, for example, you used our previous version, Pulp 2, it's there. So yeah, we definitely will. And right now, we don't. But we welcome any contributions.
Good. So does Pulp support private repositories authenticated with external identity provider?
So yes. Yes. So you can configure remote, as I explained, which knows about a remote source. So you can configure there, for example, SSL certificates, so users' passwords, and download repositories. Like, for example, if you have a subscription for Red Hat, you can download Red Hat repositories.
Okay, good. Thank you. This REST API seems, or API seems powerful but complex. Can we simply Python setup Py upload a package to Pulp to publish distributed?
Yeah, I agree. It looks quite complex now. We would definitely want to simplify the upload for Python plugin. I believe they wanted to support it using Twine. But again, if you have any suggestions, please contact us and write your mailing lists, and we'll take a look at it.
Yeah, good. So do you provide or plan to provide Pulp as a software as a service?
I can't say for Red Hat. I'm not sure about Pulp. I don't think so.
Okay, thank you. Does Pulp run on Python 3?
Yes, 3.5 and higher.
Okay, thank you.
To distribute Pulp as a Docker image? Not yet, but definitely it's possible.
Everything is possible.
Yes, I understand that we're like actively in the development phase. It's like a first beta. So we have a lot of things planned, and again, they're all available. If you go to our website, you can find all our roadmap and what we're planning to do in the nearest future.
Good. So is Red Hat using and going to use Pulp for RPM repository?
Definitely. RPM plugin is in active development, and the base version will be available soon. Yeah, Pulp is used inside Red Hat as well, and the previous version of Pulp, the current stable Pulp 2 version, works with RPMs. It's the biggest plugin in Pulp, the RPM 1.
Cool. So can you talk more about Ansible role support?
Yeah, this was...
It's the middle one.
Yeah. Ansible role. Yeah, so this plugin is available. Of course, it's also in beta. Everything is in beta right now, and it's only in Pulp 3. So you can manage Ansible roles and sync them from Galaxy. So if you'd like to know more details, please reach me. We can talk about it.
Yes. Okay, and the last question. Can you compare this Artifactory, these two Artifactory?
Yeah, I mean, you mean Pulp, right? So there, we support similar functionality, right? But like we're free and open source. And also, for example, for a Python plugin, we follow all the PEPs. We're very, careful, and we try our best to do a good job and according to all the standards. So, yeah, we're competitors of Artifactory.
Okay, thank you.